Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Ascension Files. I'm here with my very, very good friend, Sue Hayes, who is the Widow Wisdom. That's the name of her new book she just came out with. It is called Widow Wisdom, How to Find Joy Amidst the Teardrops of Grief. Me and Sue have known each other for almost 3 years now. She has been integral in my spiritual awakening. I came to her in the summer, I think, of 2018. Just starting to awaken to my emotional and spiritual side. And her sister, her twin sister, which we'll get into, Anne, took me under their wing and really helped lead me to the beginning of my path to spiritual awakening, I feel, because they have a really good balance in that human development, that spiritual evolution that leads to an evolution of consciousness. So, Sue, why don't you talk to us a little bit about how you came to be where you are today? Let's start off with one of my favorite stories. I always love talking to older people about being an indigo child in the 70s, in the 80s, and what that was like to be an awakened spiritual being in a decaying, narcissistic, patriarchal world. I'm very interested.
So, hello everybody. Thank you so much, Adam, for this opportunity. It's always good to chat with you and have a conversation about these kind of things, because you can't do this with just everybody. But I think there are more and more people every day, so it's really cool. Thank you so much. So, how did I get to where I am today? Woo! Trials and tribulations, through challenging life experiences. I guess that'll be the short answer. And through those experiences, there are opportunities to truly evolve and grow, because it's like the phoenix rising from the ashes. Like when you are down, feel like you're down, there's nowhere to go but up. And there's often opportunities for reflection, like, oh, how did that happen? What can I do about it now? Like, how can I shift? So I'm grateful for all my experiences. I feel like I have chosen them before I was even born. So I'm just reminding myself, there are times I'm like, what was I thinking? But anyways, and so as an indigo, so that term, Adam, I didn't even know what that term was. I was an indigo, but I didn't realize it. There wasn't a name to go with it. And I just remember as a child, my father, I would always ask him these questions, like these really thought-provoking questions. And he just was like, I don't know. I don't have the answers to that. Or he would come up with something simple, but I was always curious. I always wanted to know more. And I feel that my sister and I oftentimes felt kind of like fish out of water. We're like, this doesn't seem to be other people like us. Yet I was a teacher for 20 years, and much later when I became a teacher, I started seeing these children that reminded me of me when I was young, and I'm like, oh, I get them. I totally get them. You've got the indigo coming in and the rainbow children. I said, oh my God, I totally get them. And they felt so like they didn't belong. I'm like, I get you, buddy. I get you, buddy. You so belong. You just don't see it. It's okay.
Do you remember people you related to as a child growing up that felt like an indigo with you? But then it seems
my sister.
Yeah, absolutely. But then it seems like you two didn't turn it off. Did you guys have a falling away of your gifts, a falling away of your intuition, or did you kind of just always roll with it and just go through the gambit of being an awakened being in a closed-minded world?
Well, I can speak for me. I know that when my gifts really started to open up, I got nervous about it. I was having people that had already passed that I still had anger with. So I shut it down. I was getting information about people, their possible passing and how it would happen. And I thought if I shut it down, then that's not going to happen. People are going to stay alive. They're not going to pass, which now I understand it's all good. It's a rite of passage. And I didn't like being wide open, so to speak. It was scary to me at first. And then I was able to make more peace with it and recognize that it was an opportunity to heal across many generations. And if people were showing up who had already passed, they were looking to help heal myself and them. And so that's when I said, okay, let me get back into this and allow myself to open up. But there was a period where I just shut it off.
So
I did shut it off.
So when you're going through these experiences as you're growing up, right? And before you shut it off, you had an encounter with a close kind, correct? You had an alien abduction, and you felt that it was against your will for a really long time. But as of recently, you've come because they come back to tell you more about it. I mean, there was a reason for us not to know these things up until now, but now you're saying that you signed up for that, that you actually wanted to do that. And so you spent your whole life feeling you got violated by these beings. And in reality, it was actually helping you. So go a little bit further into that experience.
Yeah, no, the first thing I want to say is that, to make it clear, I have not physically, like with my eyes, my physical eyesight, seen this being. This is a knowing. I see it in what I call dream state, which isn't to me a dream state. I feel like I'm really with these beings. And the word alien, unfortunately, has gotten so much there's so many connotations that aren't necessarily positive. And so they're extraterrestrial beings. They're part of us. I mean, we're all sparks of divinity, of the source of God. And so there's just different aspects. Just as we have aliens from other countries, people who are different from us, perhaps, in the way they look and the features. And then we have aliens or extraterrestrials who don't live on this planet per se. And so that's what I want to make sure, that we're all part of the same. We just seem to have this idea that we're different. And yes, I gained the knowledge that I did agree to it, and that it is helping with the evolutionary growth of myself and with others. And so it's what has allowed me to really open up. They've helped me to do that. And so, yes, for many years when I didn't understand it, and I would have glimpsed whenever I got body work, for example, or I'd really be in a deep meditative state, I would get these glimpses of being what felt like being like experimented with, having these large syringes put up my vagina. We can say the V word, right? We can say the other V word, we can say that word, right? I think I'm safer with the vagina word. So I felt very violated, yet when you realize that you signed up for it and it's bettering humanity, and it was actually I don't even like to use the words positive and negative. It was a way to help upgrade the DNA, our DNA structure, in a way that we are able to ascend more rapidly, change as a race, so that as the earth is vibrating and the vibration is increasing, our bodies are able to adapt to that. But in order to do that, we needed to upgrade our systems.
So let's talk about a little bit about that. You're an energy worker. You've been doing this for several years. You've done energy work on me. It's incredible. I love it. You're an intuitive energy worker at that. So you're hands off a lot of times. You don't even put
I'm hands off as of lately. Yes, I've closed the hands-on practice.
I'm realizing that I'm having to be careful even hugging people now with my energy. I really need to I have to make sure I put on my armor of God every day. And anybody, armor of God isn't about Jesus and Allah or Yahweh or any of that. The armor of God is just this idea that you have a protective armor you put over your soul, so that as you go through the day as a heightened spiritual being, when things come at you, you have protection. Because I've done it and I haven't done it, and there's a difference in my days when I don't put on my protection, especially if you are an awakening being, because you're going to be sought after, and not by the good kindness. You know what I mean? There's negative energy entities, there's positive entities, and even the last 2 weeks, I opened myself up to negative entities because during a point of weakness, I reached out to somebody, and I think I opened up I think I highlighted myself through the ether and all that, and whatever. It's all weird hippie foo-foo stuff. I take everything with a grain of salt, because we're still humans. We're still human beings on this planet, and we have to live a human life. So let's talk about the energy work. Let's talk about what you were saying, how right now our DNA is being unlocked. It's being upgraded. And what I call these last 8 years and moving further is I call this the legitimate rapture. Everybody thinks the rapture is all the good people are just going to fucking rainbow body and all of a sudden go to heaven and we're going to live with unicorns. It's not going to happen. Oh, no. All right. What the rapture is, because 5D is all internal. So what the rapture is, it's an internal rapture. And that's another thing about suicide, I think, at this time, is there's so many people that can't handle the energetic evolution that's happening inside our bodies right now, because they're so dense, full of the carbon-based mindsets, mentalities, foods, all those things, and they're literally killing themselves because they're in so much pain they don't know what else to do. I call it either you're going to really die or some part of you is going to die, but throughout this experience something has to die, because who you were in the 3D and 4D will not allow you to be in the 5D. I realized every time we move into a new dimension of being, we have to become a new person. And that's why it's been so painful these last 4 years, is because we shed 3D, we moved into 4D, now we're shedding 4D, we're moving into 5D, then we're going to shed 5D to move into 6D. And it's just it's a constant barragement of photonic energy. And I can literally feel it. I follow world maps. I follow
Schumann resonance,
the Schumann resonance, all of that stuff. I'm actually going to start doing a lot more current energy updates, including the Schumann resonance, and explaining the bioenergetics. So my thing is funny, because I'd say that you were the one that really got me into energy work, because you were the first person I knew about it, and you did it with me, and it worked.
I didn't know that.
Bioenergetics is going to be huge moving forward. So talk a little bit about your past and your now future in bioenergetics and working with the energy system, frequency healing, auric healing, the whole thing. I think it's the future. I really do.
Well, first of all, it's something that everybody can tap into. With that said, there's your dirt.
There's my dirt.
There you go. Get those nutrients.
That's it.
Vitality, especially during this time. And I like that it's dirt, because you want to be connected to the earth. As we're ascending, a lot of us are I'm digressing here, but we're kind of caught up in the spiritual aspect, but we're still living a physical life. And so we need to make sure that we're grounded. And so that's good that you're having your dirt.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to have it. It's just not freaking opening. So that's sorry for distracting you. So go back into the energy work. I'll figure this out.
Maybe it's not time right now. Woo, well, we'll energetically get you with your nutrients.
There you go.
So
there you go.
It's although all of us have this ability, this capacity, and even more so, I do feel like I chose to have this as my gift, and that I've also worked it like a muscle. I've worked it like a muscle so that I'm a conduit. We're all conduits, so that it comes through very readily. I mean, you can walk into a room, you feel it. You yourself, I can walk into a room with somebody else. I'm like, whoa, they're already shifting something for me and shifting something within me. So whether you don't need to have your hands on somebody per se. And that's what I found is, wow, I can do this remotely, because time and space don't really exist. And so that's that 3D kind of thinking that thinks, oh, the farther you are away, if you don't touch, it's not going to work. That's not true. Sometimes it's more powerful.
Talk about that. Talk about the distance healing. I just started working with this new frequency healing device, and this woman sent me from Michigan a healing and cleared my throat chakra. I mean, literally, I had to work 3 days. I had to work the fascia and all the stuff out. It's a game changer. I'm gonna be starting to help sell it. I believe in it. I want to get my family it. So go further with this. Let's talk about like the beginning of this, because they have a device for it, but you're doing it just through thought. I have a friend that sends me Reiki healings through the ether.
Yeah, and we can have, to me, there's different names and titles. It's more being able to play with the energy, being aware of the energy. And I don't even like to, I guess, manipulate. Maybe there's a trigger word for me. Manipulate and play with it. We're playing with it in a way that's, focusing on people's well-being. With anything, you can use it in a way to better people or to try to like harm people. And it's a tool. And it's a tool that when used in a way that's helping people, it's incredibly powerful, and people can get that healing that they already have on some level, but that's been covered up with the thoughts or debris that results physically, manifest physically because of those toxic thoughts they may put in their heads. And so it's helping people to recognize that they have the power. And it's just, and I do it differently depending. I'm guided depending on who it is. I envision them. Sometimes I just see them already like healthy. Like if they're having trouble walking, they have back pain. I see what they would look like as if they didn't have back pain, if they are healthy. I'm not going to go in necessarily on the area they're speaking of. I may use what I call, we have the pineal gland, which is our internal eyesight. It has these two little knobs, you know, from HemiSync. They're like your headlights. So I do. I'm like, can you put those on? Put the spotlights on. And I'm just observing. I'm scanning the body and scanning around the body and asking, what can I see? What can I share that will be helpful? And even without that, a lot of times I'll get images.
You did. You told me a lot about good images that helped me kind of work through some of the stuff I was working through at the time. So real quick, what about how long did it take you to start trusting that intuition, trusting those images, trusting those feelings?
I would say years, Adam. Years. I remember when I took this, it was actually an intuitive mediumship class, and the synergy of the people, that's another thing. When you're with more people who are really tapped in, it just amplifies the energy. And I think that's part of the reason why I was like, wow, I was so woke. I remember sharing something about somebody who passed, and I said, oh, wow, they had a lot of water. I'm seeing water on the lungs. They're like, no, that can't be. That's wrong, because he died of congenital heart failure. And so I thought it was wrong, but it was my own doubt that attracted that statement. But I looked it up, and it said that a lot of times water fluid fills the lungs when somebody has that kind of condition. So I was correct. So that kind of empowered me. I'm like, Sue, you do know this stuff. But yeah, I doubted it for a long time. And I get unknowing, and I'd be like, am I just making that up? Then
go ahead. No, keep going. I'm sorry.
And then I would share that wisdom that I was that I was channeling. And all of a sudden people are like, oh my God, yeah, wow. And it would just give them this clarity that was where the magic happened. That's where the healing happened, was just a shift in awareness. And they were like, oh, wow, I didn't think of it like that. You're right. And then just that seed of wisdom, or those images I shared, and the information that would come with those images would just create such a shift for people. And so that's what gave, okay, so just keep going with it.
And so when did you start working, doing that stuff, that energy work, and really start trying to build your own business in that?
Probably about 8 years ago. I was, maybe more than that. I was teaching, I want to say 10 years. I'm losing track of time here.
It's going fast now, man. It's going.
Yeah, faster it seems. I was teaching still, my last year officially teaching in the public school system was 2011. So we're talking 10 years ago. Prior to that, I got certified in Reiki 1, 2, and 3, and then Lighterian Reiki. And then I was getting energy work, and it really had to do with my sister-in-law, who was diagnosed with cancer at the time. We connected her with a center that focused on energy healing, polarity, Reiki, energy work. And my sister and I were the ones that ended up receiving the sessions, learning it, and being fascinated.
Okay.
So she really catapulted us forward with that. So she was crucial with her illness. And that's why I feel like her illness was perhaps something she chose before birth to allow others to grow spiritually as well as herself. And so I think we have to recognize that.
Oh, 1,000%. I remember this other book that I'm into is it's called The 5 Lessons of Life by Carrie Cohan. And she talks about her near-death experiences and how people sign up to do things that may not be the best to you, but spiritually it's for you. Because my theory and what they've come to me over the last year, since I've really opened up my crown and I've allowed and I've trusted the information, is that, like you talked about, this is a waking dream. This reality on our planet is the dream state. It's an earth school. It's really fucked up because the more drama we have, the more our souls grow. And so human drama, in my opinion, human drama was released into earth to spur evolution, because the cavemen, if you look at paleoanthropology, the caveman used the same tools for 2 million years. But within 11,600 years, man went from the Great Deluge to domesticating plants and animals, to pottery, to basically China and Egypt in 11,000 years. So there's a lot. And then if you look at real history, as we know now with everything coming out, what has been the last 11,000 years? Some freaking darkness, dude. But yet, look where we're at. So some say it took us 200,000 years to get to the Great Deluge. And now all of a sudden 11,600 or 13,000 years later, right? Look where we're at. We're awakening. Who's to say that God wasn't?
Yeah, and if you think of just the unraveling goes faster and faster. It's like, think of the vortex, so it makes sense that exponentially we would just have way more awakening and at a much greater pace. And with that, anything that doesn't serve us is going to be thrown out at a faster pace. So that's where we have that polarity, and it's like, oh my God, the dark night of the soul. It's just that we have greater opportunities to let go of all what we've been hanging on to that doesn't serve us at a much greater pace. It just means there's a roller coaster that we're going through right now. And I think that's where we have perhaps the increase in the suicides. I'm not saying that for sure, because it feels really dark when you're in it.
So let's talk a little bit about what's been happening here lately. You've been going through, I want to get back to what I segued with the book, and you were talking about how we, like, I'm going to segue into that in the next segment, but I want to get into this today right now and talk about what it's been like for you down there in Miami, dealing with being an awakened soul who's gone through the darkest dark and the hardest hards, who will never compromise herself or anyone or anything ever again. And to be down there in that energy as an energy worker, going through grief and recovery, and how you've been able to maintain yourself and even grow while it seemed like the world, like every week, so you're coming at me, oh my gosh, they were coming at me in Whole Foods, they were coming at me here. Talk to us a little bit about that. Let's talk, because I haven't heard many stories of people being accosted. I've seen videos, you see this, but it's very rare do you actually get to interview and talk to somebody who stood their ground, stood themselves out like a lion, and were attacked for it, like hyenas coming at the lion and biting its butt and biting its tail. So talk a little bit about that. Every time you told me a story, I can visualize it.
So when I started off, I think I was also attracting more of that, maybe expecting it. And so I got more of that attacking, or maybe people are more awoke, I'm not sure. But I definitely got attacked. Like literally people would come around me and in my face and like screaming at me, like, why aren't you wearing a mask? Why aren't you wearing, I can't believe you. You're disrespectful. You're delusional. You're killing people. You're killing people. Not wearing a mask. This is
while they're being delusional, while they're
so it's just where they're, so it's interesting. And so we're mirroring one another. Maybe I was judging them with not realizing it in a different way. So there's no kindness and judgment, whether it's silent or spoken. So I had to recognize that. And what energy was I putting out to attract it? Was I expecting it? I'm not saying it still doesn't happen. It doesn't happen as frequently, but now I know, before I go into a store, whatever, I say, what would it be like to be surrounded by beautiful, loving, and kind people? And I seem to attract that more. I said, and how can I be that loving and kind person? And just honor where they're at. And then if somebody does say something, it doesn't have the same intensity. They might say, oh, geez, I wish they back away. And they'll say, I wish you would put a mask on. And I just say, I wish you would take yours off. And can I ask you, can I ask you why you would like me to put a mask on? And so we're able to have more of a dialogue than we were maybe 5 months ago or 6. It's been a year now. However, maybe there are more people.
15 days. 15 days.
I'm like a year. And so there's part of me that is speaking up even a little bit more now, because I'm a year, I'm like, enough. And I've been told, be careful, Susan, you're going to lose followers, you're going to lose business. And I said, my business is freedom. That's my number one business. I didn't come on this planet to make lots of money and keep people small and not speak my truth. Yeah, we need money, and we live in a society like that right now, but that's my number one business. Now. And I'm not looking to have followers. I'm looking to empower people. You
don't heal anybody. You guide people to heal themselves. Like that.
Yes, exactly.
We're not, that's the whole thing about these doctors in this pedestal. It's doc, you don't heal us unless you're digging into my body and reconnecting things and rebuilding shit. You ain't doing nothing. Writing a fucking script ain't doing nothing. So stop, get off your freaking pedestal and start going, how am I a doctor thinking that not breathing oxygen is actually going to help my patients grow and heal why are hospitals oxygenated?
Yeah, you're speaking to, yep. And you know what? And that's the thing with society. That's the ego with idolatry. We put certain professions, certain titles as like on a higher level, as if they're better, they know better, yet we are our own experts of our body, but we've lost touch with them. So part of the energy work and all that is showing people how to get in touch with their own body, and they're their own expert. Like what may be healthy for one person, oxygen's healthy for everybody, by the way, we need it to breathe.
For a lot of things.
There's no exception to that. Sometimes people need more oxygen, the oxygen tanks or whatever, but everybody requires that for life, to have life. But there may be certain foods that are deemed like, oh, this isn't healthy for you, but maybe somebody else it is for that moment in time. And so that's where it's really important for us to pay attention to our own expertise, our own inner wisdom that all of us have.
And then they were able to convince us that we're sick. They were able to convince healthy people that they're sick, and then they were trying to get the healthy sick people to manipulate the smart healthy people that they're sick too. It's mind-boggling. But how have you been able to not react? That has been my biggest.
Okay, first of all, I have reacted, Adam. I'm human. Yet I don't react with this as quickly, I noticed, or I catch myself and say, okay, Susan, look at this differently. So I use those tools of like, okay, what is this teaching me? How can I approach it? So how can I have a dialogue? I mean, I don't usually go to Starbucks. I went into Starbucks the other day. I was traveling and they wouldn't serve me. I did post that. They would not serve me. And so I said, I'm healthy. And meanwhile, a woman with a mask saw that I didn't have a mask on. She literally jumped away from me. Like, and I'm healthy. I'm like, wow, people have that much fear. They're going to jump away from somebody who doesn't have a mask on because they think they're sick. Yet I'm probably one of the healthiest people. It's ironic. But anyways, so I just said, you're going to be saying sorry to me when the truth comes out. And then I realized I had not had coffee in 2 days. I didn't want coffee that day. They did me a favor. Because my mom walked in without a mask the day before. Somebody else was on duty. They did me a favor. And so when I could see that, and I also would like to think I planted a seed within them. So it's all good.
I look at it too. The way I look at it too is I always go, how is this happening for me? Especially when I'm the most triggered and the most emotional. I go, okay, why is this happening for me so that I can grow? And two, it's just also showing us, because it's a step-by-step process. I mean, every day is a new step, and you're not going to be perfect, but you're going to get it better and a little better and a little better. Like, let's say, Babe Ruth didn't start off at, in Little League hitting home runs. You know what I'm saying? Babe Ruth became the best home run hitter of all time because he hit a bunch of freaking singles and doubles and triples, and eventually they started going over the park. But what I've noticed in myself is the self-regulation has increased. You know my story. I have a lot of PTSD, a lot of crazy trauma in my life. And, I've been a very intense individual. And it was a sense of pride for a while. I was like, who the fuck do you think you're talking to? You know what I mean? And like that warrior and that battling. And I've been thinking lately, I go, if the world was really about to end, why would God take my warrior body from me and give me like this yoga body that I can't even lift things with? You know what I'm saying? I can't do anything. What I can do is I can help people heal. I'm lighter. I'm more loving. I have all these but I'm more of that 5D body now. Why would he take my warrior body from me if we're about to go to war? And that's what I was also thinking was, why did I train like a warrior for 15 years?
Because this is the war of the mind.
And the ether. Because I know we've been battling in the spiritual realm. I know this is the living dream. This is the waking dream. And what I also realized that they kind of came to me with was this idea that this body feeds our spirit energy, and our spirit feeds this body energy. And so when we're in form, we're feeding our body, we're feeding our spirit's energy to go do what it needs to do. And that's why it's so important that you feed it what it needs, not your ideal diet of what you think, like the South Beach diet. We'll get into that.
That's
South Beach,
right.
The low carbs and all that. Some people that works. For some people like me, I need high fat and not keto. I need it for my brain. I use a lot of brain energy all day, and I need a high fat diet. And it took me 30 years to accept that this is the diet I need. I can't eat meat. I love to, but I can't eat meat. I just realized I can eat eggs, I can eat rice, but I can't eat starches. You know what I'm saying? So it's learning your body. You're the expert of your temple. So how have you been able to become so strong? How did you learn to regulate those emotions and start to receive people and like that higher level where it's like, I know you're not, here we go. Better question, because I'm all over the place. How do you stop taking things so personal?
Well, it's through a lot of my own energy work. I've had coaches, I've sought out energy healers, different types of workshops and programs. So it's through a lot of my own personal development and the programs that I've taken to help with my own healing that have given me the tools to be able to do the same and to not do things as personally. And so it's those rose-colored glasses that I put on that it's not pretending everything's wonderful when it's not, because life is going to happen to us. It's how are we going to look at it in a way that will, like, is it happening to us or for us? Like, what is this doing for me? What is it teaching me? What are the blessings with this? And so the rose-colored glasses for me are an instant like cue. They instantly shift my mood. For me, I just happen to feel better in pink, so I put them on and it just instantly shifts my mood. And then I ask certain questions and I'll be like, okay, well, what's right about this that I'm not getting? Like that was like, I realized it much quicker. It's like because I ask it so much, it's like I already get the answers. Right away, I was like, after that happened, I'm like, Sue, you didn't want coffee. They did you a favor, with my husband, when he passed, I was like, are you kidding me? Like, what the? And I realized before he passed, within that last year, was such a challenge with his illness. I had always wanted a deeper love. I wanted to share a deeper love with my husband, and so did he. Well, we got that prayer answered through his illness and the journey because we let go of the small stuff.
Yep.
And we recognized we don't know if we have only 8 months, 2 months, whatever, how much time we have on the planet, or 5, 10 years. We don't know. We're going to make the most of it and focus on our love. And so that is a gift that I received. It's ironic.
And so we're going to now it's a perfect segue to jump into your book, Widow Wisdom, because you said that you actually got the energy work from trying to help your sister-in-law. You started getting all the training, but it was in preparation for your biggest battle and his biggest battle, Hector.
Yes.
And Hector in the back, you see his beautiful smile.
He said he's become one with the mountain. Yep. So that's very symbolic. He's everywhere.
And it's what's so beautiful about this is that this is your story of your next level of awakening. It was like you already were awakened, and then through this journey you enlightened, and now the rest of your life is moving towards that ascension. And I believe in my life that my goal is rainbow body. I don't want to die. I want to ascend, and I want to graduate Earth School. I'm done. I've been here a long time, Sue. I'm just saying, I've been in a lot of lives. I've been living this planet. I've been helping. I've been doing things. I'm done. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to move on to the next thing. So let's talk about Widow Wisdom and the importance of it. I'm going to go in order of the chapters that really helped me. So you talk on page 13, you start the chapter of letting go. Letting go has been not only one of the most difficult things I've focused on in the last 2-3 years, but specifically this year, it's now starting to actually happen. Take us through real quick. Take us through what it's like to go through the process of grieving when you first get those news, and then the battle. Like, it took 4 years, right? It was a 4-year battle, right?
Yeah, about that, 3.5 to 4 years.
3.5 to 4 years. So, because you had to let go a lot, constantly let go, constantly change, constantly adapt. And I think that's why you're thriving now. You're like, I've been doing this for so long. So
there's nothing new.
So explain to us a little bit about that.
Well, I don't want to say you're forced to, but like with the experience, I mean, he had to let go of his voice, his ability to eat by mouth and all that. And as he required more and more help, I didn't need to. I chose to spend more time at home helping to take care of him and focus on his health. So I let go of my business. I let go of, I surrendered to, so much. Yet by letting go and by letting go of my business, it was actually propelling me toward what I had always been asking for. So even within that, my husband was helping me to achieve some dreams and goals. I just didn't think it would show up in the way that it did. So I cursed it at first. And so by letting go, it opens you up to what you really want to bring in. But if you hang on to it, you don't have that space to bring something new in.
So how do you recognize when you're holding on to something? Something I've realized is when we don't even know half the time. These things we do is so programmed into us. We hold on to stuff we don't know we are holding on to. We hold on to relationships we really don't want. We have these fears that aren't real. So how are you able to discern what's true, what's not, what to hold on to, what not to hold on to, and how to keep moving forward?
Sometimes I have trouble with that. When I really recognize it, if resistance shows up. So the resistance will show up emotionally. It will show up as pain in the body or discomfort. Then I know there's something that I'm resisting and not letting go of, whether it's something in the past, some resentments, some emotions, or even maybe something physical in my life, whether it has to do with something I'm focusing on, a webinar, or maybe some aspect of my business that, okay, that's not what you're focusing on right now. And so when
I've definitely been there myself through this healing journey. I want to be further than I am, and I'll start to focus on like my career, my business, and then everything will start to like fall apart. And the universe is like, Adam, because you need to be your biggest focus, your health, your recovery. That is what you are supposed to be doing right now. And I lose focus because we want to be where we're not.
Well, because we've been programmed and taught in the 3D world that this is what success looks like. True. This is what it means to have made it. This is what it looks like to have achieved your dreams. And without recognizing that the real dream is just getting out of the dream, and it's just pure joy and bliss with the roller coaster of emotions, but you have that general sense of contentment. And that's what ultimately brings in what you need. Because if you have all the money and you've got the accolades and the titles, but you don't have that general sense of contentment and inner peace, and you're reacting instead of responding, you're not successful. You're not truly successful. And I think that's been the tricky thing for us in the 3D. And joy. It's all about joy.
Why did you choose to use joy and not happiness?
Joy to me is a more, and maybe it's just my interpretation. Joy is something you can have with the other emotions. Happiness just seems to be like a temporary state. Joy is a general well-being. You think of climate versus weather. That's the weather for the day. And this is a general climate is joy. That's how I see it.
In Iceland, they say glad instead of happy. I want to be glad because you can be glad through all the BS, but happy is what you are. And I've been chasing happiness. I've been chasing happiness, the pursuit of happiness, right?
Think of the word.
To me, they set us on a course of inevitable unachievement with that word, the pursuit of happiness, because it is a fleeting emotion. But joy,
you can't ever get it if you're pursuing it.
Damn, see? Do you even see? So people like
chasing it and it keeps fleeting.
How about this real quick? Do you understand? No, I don't understand you. I understand you, but I don't understand you.
Yeah, I mean the spell of words, spelling. We call it spelling. Spell. Even the word spelling, they're using spells, and it's time for us to take back these hijacked words and use them in a way that it's create. Spells are okay as long as they're working for our highest good.
And so the next big thing on your book that really hit me was the need to believe in whatever it is that you're doing or being about, especially when you're grieving the loss of someone that you love. You talk about having your South Beach diet, but not so much food, but words and concepts and ideas. And we are the thoughts we consume, the content we consume. And so explain a little bit about belief and also about personal dialogue and how important it is that we don't use the words I can't, we don't use the words that, I am this way, I am that way. I mean, we set ourselves up for unconscious failure when we program ourselves with our grief. How do you deprogram your grief?
It's with just belief. Having that.
That was good. Deprogramming your grief with belief.
Oh, I like it. So it's having that awareness. And again, it's through a lot of my own meditations and going within and healers that I have sought after to help me with the process. It's taken a team. It still takes a team. I don't do it alone. I'm okay with seeking out others that can help shift my perceptive and show me a different way of seeing things. And that becomes easier and easier because I've done it so much. It's asking those questions I talked about, but believing if you're not aware that you said, oh, I'm so sick and tired of this, and you say it over and over again, it's a habitual pattern, a habitual thought. That's what our brain is hearing. So it's going to attract more circumstances where we're going to feel sick and tired. So the more that you're aware of that connection, when you do say things, you're more likely to pick up on it. Or somebody else will, hopefully. My sister does a lot. She goes, you know what you just said? I'm like, oh. And that doesn't mean you don't acknowledge, like there may be a day like, oh, I'm feeling just a little bit, maybe your body does need rest. So it's knowing that discernment between like, when does your body saying, I just need rest today? Or where is it you're constantly telling your body, and that's why you always feel sick and tired.
Because grieving is also a physical process. I don't think people realize that it's a 4-body process. It's emotional, spiritual, physical, and mental. And if you're trying to grieve without resting, you're gonna spin your wheels. And you ever like, I watched these weird YouTube shows where people live in like the Russia and like the Arctic or something like that, and they don't have anything. They're falconers, right? So there's these falconers in Russia, I think, or whatever, and they get stuck in the mud with they have like one truck, and they're just spinning the wheel, and it's just going down deeper. And I'm like, you just dug yourself a hole.
That's a great analogy.
Just spinning mud and just going, just
lots of action, lots of effort, but you're going nowhere. So to speak to that, the grief, it's important to allow ourselves to express it, because I found that I thought I had expressed it fully about a year ago. It was 2 years in February that my husband had passed. February, I want to say it was a challenging month, yet maybe it wasn't challenging because I allowed myself to fully feel the sadness, the anger, the frustration, the grief. And so it felt like it was worse than the year before. But this year, I allowed myself to be able to feel it. I rested. I didn't focus as much on work, on my business. I didn't feel like, oh, I got to post today. I was like, you know what? I'm not wanting to. I just want to stay in bed today. I need to rest. And that's what I did. I honored myself and allowed myself to feel it so that ultimately I could have experienced more of that joy that's there, but it wasn't really truly, I wasn't really able to tap into the joy. You can do joyful activities, but you're not really having joy with them. You're just fooling yourself into it. So we've been taught to stuff it down and get back to work. You got to do this. And there's so much judgment with, oh, you binge watched TV. What if that's what your body needed?
Sometimes you need it, man. You need a distraction. My brain's always going.
It's a passive activity.
So when did you realize that you were faking it till you make it? I feel like a lot of times we're grieving, we're trying to be more than we are, and we just don't surrender. You used the word surrender before. That's been my key word for the last 4 years. So how do you surrender and to stop faking it and just being you? Because that's the key to this. Is it's almost like what my friend told me was what the experience I'm going through. It's almost like I'm reincarnating in this life, and it's almost like the Sue Hayes of the old died with Hector, and now the Sue Hayes that was designed for the 5D is coming out, and you're having to learn her, you're having to embrace her, you're having to become this new version of yourself, which is the version of yourself, but it took all those past versions to finally get it right. So now you're talking about on page 61 that you're allowing yourself to receive, and that you had all these money issues because of your husband's cancer. He dies, and all of a sudden all of your money issues are gone. And now you're like, what the fuck? Are you kidding me? This is what it took. Like, this isn't what I wanted. And I don't know how many times in my life where I'm not laughing at the situation. I'm just laughing at the chaos of like, I get what I want. And I'm like, really? Like, that's what it is. But that goes back to a lot of things I talk about sloppy manifesting, is when we get what we want, but because we think about it and we fret about it and we create, the universe doesn't know. So it comes out to be some like hybrid version of what we wanted. And it's like, here, and it's like has like 2 heads and has like 4 arms, and you're like, thanks, I'll love it. It's like, has like warts on it and stuff. And you're like, this isn't what I wanted, So
Like there wasn't clarity with it. They're like, I don't know what you want.
So how exactly, you don't know what you want. So how do I know what you want? So how were you able to get yourself to finally receive without feeling bad and let go and surrender to what the universe is trying to bring you, because it's not ethical or moral in our human 3D mind?
So it's an ongoing process, Adam. I think it's easier for me. It's easier for me to recognize it. Yet it's an ongoing process. I still have times where, as we're cleansing, there may be another layer of that particular lesson that shows up, that it feels like it's a test, but it's more just a deeper cleansing. I'm like, oh, there it is again. So it's just another layer. I think as long as we're human, there are certain aspects and layers that we're working through, and we're still living. We're still living the experience. So it's ongoing, but I think I'm much better at receiving than I used to be.
Absolutely. I mean, your
That's
life
for
completely flipped. And what it felt like, what I saw the change was when your sister moved to Miami, and you saw that what was possible, because your sister, she goes through her own stuff too. She had her own bag of bones over here in Tampa. You know what I'm saying? So for her, it was like, I have to do this. I need this for my family. I'm going to do this. I don't want to leave you. I know what you're going through, but I need this. And you were like, I got you, go. And she went and she flourished like immediately. And then you came a little bit after, and you came after you lost.
No, we all came together.
Oh, you did. You came together. That's right. Oh, so Hector came down there.
Listen, my husband passed away. My stepson moved back. I had no family. I would have no family in Tampa after that. And but I did meditate on it, and I got a big yes from Miami. I don't know that I would have done it sooner, but I did it at the divine timing, the right time. So fortunately, my sister kind of pushed me along to what would be in my highest good. And so she was a catalyst for that.
And so for those people who have had major losses in their life and who feel like this is it, this is as good as it's going to get, this is where I'm at, what would you tell them to receive again, to receive love, to receive light, to abundance, to help? I feel like when we lose somebody, we just cut ourselves off, and we stop having a life. I watched it happen with a lot of people in my life. How have you been able to push past that idea that, what, he was a big part of my life and he was the best part of my life, but my life's not over. I still got another 70, 80 years on this rock. And so I really believe that.
As long as I'm ascending, I'm okay with it.
So what would you tell someone to, like, you deserve to receive and to live?
Well, we don't truly honor the loss of somebody and their legacy by shutting ourselves down. It's not what they would want. And I have seen a lot of people who have used that loss and have found purpose with it to carry on their loved one's legacy. And I think of Tammy White in particular, who's in the book you had mentioned, who lost her husband to suicide. Her second husband. She lost her first husband also.
To an accident.
Yes. So this was the second time becoming a widow, and it was to suicide. So there's still a lot
After
of things.
30 years. So let's,
Yes. And so she's been doing a lot to, she's been a crusader for helping to bring awareness to the idea of suicide, why people may commit suicide. And it can happen to anybody. People think it's like this person who's completely depressed and the signs are all there. It's so obvious, and it's not. And it's been a taboo subject. So she has taken her loss and she has done something with it to be able to educate people and to help others to heal, whether they've already lost somebody or hopefully to prevent that from even happening, to have a conversation about emotional health. Like, what does it look like, particularly during these times? So that's what keeps her going forward, is she has a purpose. And
that's allowed her to receive, and that allowed her to receive because she's also giving. So maybe there's no energy exchange, and because the person doesn't have any energy to give, they feel like they don't deserve to receive. Over the last 3 years, because I've been trying to make things happen when the universe has been trying to teach me that you're not a human doer, you're a human being, you're a manifester now, which means that you attract what you want into your life and you receive, and it's going to come in weird ways, but your pride is what's holding you back. And so in a way, through our grief, our pride comes through, because it's our ego, because we're in so much pain that that's really letting go of your ego. It's letting go of these misconceived notions. And what you used with the loss of your husband was just basically for you to go deep within you and go, what do I need to heal? What's the reflecting? Where do I have these dark spots, and how can I bring in these fragments and fractals I've lost over time? You talked a lot about past lives you've been starting to tap into, and the experiences you've had, and that you've been with your husband in past lives, and you've had those experiences.
I'm with him right now in another life in France.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So even the whole idea of past lives, in this matrix, yes. And so it's more, we live in different dimensions. And so even the time, it just looks like it's in the past or the present. It's just a different frequency. And so we are sharing another lifetime in France. I've only got a glimpse of it. We're a younger couple. I want to see more. I'm told that I'm not going to be aware of more, because it would not allow me to truly be present where I am and focus on this life and the lessons to learn in this life. And so I know that it's just a knowing. People are like, it's just a knowing. And it's pretty cool knowing that. And my husband still, we connect. I still feel him in the room. When I meditate, we have a conversation. We talk to one another. Just because he's passed doesn't mean we can't talk to one another. Am I talking to him as that person over in France? There's a part of him, but we have many. I'm not even quite sure how I would explain it. I don't even want to say it's different pieces of us. It's just the same of us that, I don't even want to say clone or multiply, but I honestly don't quite understand it. I just know that I'm sharing another life with him right now, and perhaps in other dimensions and frequencies.
So the way they kind of explained it to me is, when we close our eyes and we go into a meditative state, we go into the multiverse, the quantum. And for me, it kind of comes down like a screen, and I can kind of go and pick, and I look at everything like little marbles, and they're all interconnected in a matrix, and each marble is a universe with a set of possibilities and everything. And so that's just one life that you've lived in one universe. And then you hop over to this other marble, and there's another set of circumstances. And so that's the way I look at it. That's how all experiences are possible. And why this quantum reality we live in, this hologram, is just so mind-boggling, is because we are so much bigger than these human vessels. We are so much bigger than just the spark of light that we are. But what's beautiful about this time, and what's beautiful about your experience and the experience I'm going through, is that we're now being shown this. We're now being demonstrated. It's being demonstrable, physically, tangibly, for us to see, I am so much more than I think I am. And I have been more than I am now, and I will be more later, because I am everything that has been, is, or will be, right? So if you want to end it with anything, say to the audience, I really appreciate you coming on to the Ascension Files and sharing your beautiful story. I'd love to have you on again. There's so much knowledge to share. I'm starting another show called the Light Warriors Academy, where I'm going to be doing research videos into things like energy healing, Reiki, bioenergetics, all the stuff I'm interested in. And I would love you to come on and be a part of my expert testimonials and stuff like that. And I'm going to start to really try to educate the audience on all the things that I've been using, that people like you and my friends have been using, to help them raise their frequencies so that they can finally heal and get to that 5D, 6D level. So finish it off for us, please.
So I first want to put a plug in for myself. I am doing a free live webinar on tapping into the frequency of joy, because joy is what it's all about. If you're living yourself, joy is a magnet for abundance in all its ways. Live your life with joy. Live your life, live for the love of living and not the fear of dying. Live for the love of living and not the fear of dying. Huge difference. Feel that.
I love it. It's so beautiful. Thank you so much, Sue Hayes, for coming on. Again, if you have a chance, pick her book up on Amazon, Widow Wisdom. She's also a coach. She's a consultant. She's an energy worker. And I'm going to leave the link to the free live webinar so you can see what she's all about. I am so grateful for my good friend Sue for coming on today. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you have an even better evening. And again, if you don't have a chance, pick up some dirt. It'll help you in this ascension.
There you go. There you go.
I'll
Thank
talk
you
to you
so
soon,
much,
all right?
Adam. Thank you for all of you for being here today. Peace and love.
All right, bye.